The last step is going to be to assemble and glue up our bevel cuts, so head on over to the cabinet and grab a quarter piece of 220 grit sandpaper. And while you're over there, find the wood glue and the painter's tape, and make yourself a nice little setup on one of the work tables. Notice these pencil lines that remain at the start of my bevel cuts. And notice how hard it's going to be to remove them if I wait until after I've already assembled these mitered corners. So I'm going to take a moment right now and sand off the pencil marks. And while I'm there, I'm going to sand the whole flat. That will be also somewhat difficult to reach after this tiny little picture frame is assembled. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've sanded all of my interior faces and pencil marks. And I'm using dimensional lumber, and it is pretty rough on the outside. But I'm not going to fret about that. I'll consider it rustic, or I'll do some sanding after assembly. It's not my concern right now. What I am concerned about is the look of those inside mitered corners. So grab the painter's tape, and let's look at this technique. Put a piece of tape along the back of piece 1, and then line up piece 1 with piece 2, and tape them around the corner when the inside corner lines up well. Check out how this makes a cool little hinge that you can open up to apply glue and then close back to the same spot that you already decided was a good position for pieces 1 and 2. After a bit of practice, get a nice long piece of tape and apply the same technique 4 times, lining up all of your inside corners and taping all 4 pieces together until you have the entirety of your picture frame able to come together and still unfold and lay flat on the table. Now dig around in the wood scraps box and find a piece of wood that you can use to spread glue with. I like something small and flat. Open the top of the glue and apply a bead of glue to all 8 faces. You're looking for enough glue that it will spread out flat across the face, not so much that a tidal wave of glue drowns your whole project, and not too little such that your glue joints are dry. You're looking for thin coverage when spread across the whole surface of both sides. And if you make any drips, don't worry about it. Just grab a wet paper towel and wipe it up. Water will clean up wood glue very easily when it's wet. Please don't be the person who just leaves it, allowing the glue to dry into this bump on the table that makes all projects rock back and forth or get scarred as they're dragged across it. If you do find one of these dried glue bumps, take a moment and pull out a hand chisel and chisel it off, keeping the tables nice and clean and flat is what makes them into a real work surface. All right, now use your spreader stick to spread out that bead of glue until that flat, thin coat covers the entire beveled surface. All right, now the fun part. Roll up all 4 hinges, closing up your beveled corners, creating your picture frame. Take a moment as you do this to adjust those insides of your corners to your satisfaction. You're juggling 4 different joints at the same time, so this can take a little bit of fussing. Just go slowly and gently, adjusting them as best you can. Good. Now take some of that wet paper towel and wrap it around your spreader stick. And now you're going to use your spreader stick as a cleanup wand. The reason I like small spreader sticks is because they can get into those corners wrapped in wet paper towel to scrape and dissolve that glue that squishes out of the corners. This also makes it easier to see into the corners, and often I do a bit more of adjustment after I can see better what the corner actually looks like. Look at this inside corner right here. It's a bit more open than I would like. So I'm going to do one last adjustment to get that just a bit tighter because that makes me happy. There we go. That feels a bit better. Good. Then once again with a wet paper towel, clean up all those drops of glue while they are a piece of cake to clean up. And set your piece to the side for a moment. We're going to go get the magic dust. What's the magic dust? It's this stuff right here. It's the sawdust that came from the material that you were just cutting. And it's magic because it's the same color of your project. And I failed to hit the record button on the camera for this moment, so imagine your way through this. Look at these outside corners. Do you see the gaps in them? Gently peel off your tape, put a bead of glue into the gap, and then smush the dust, the sawdust, into the gap. You're going to get all gluey, and the dust is going to get all over your fingertips, but keep going around all 4 corners until you have fuzzy, sawdusty, gluey blobs running up and down those outside corners. and then wrap your tape back around to hold it snug. The wood glue recommends that your project stay clamped for a minimum of 30 minutes and to not stress the joints for 24 hours. So for that 30 minutes, let's clean up the workstation. Get that wet paper towel one last time and clean up the top of the glue and close it. Once the glue dries in this nozzle, the whole jug becomes a goner. And if you find some bits of dried glue at the tip of the nozzle, grab that chisel and scrape them off. Then push it closed until you see that little red tongue peek out the mouth of the nozzle. That's how you know it's closed and ready to put away. Take the clamps off of your bevel fence, put the saw back up to 0 degrees, standing upright, put your clamps back on the clamp rack and push it back in the nook. Take all the scraps of wood off the table and put them in the wood scraps box. Everything else that you hauled out for this process, put it away, like the speed square, get it back on the cabinet, and then take your compressed air and blow off the saw and get the broom and sweep up your sawdust into the dustpan and put it in the trash. And you might notice this sign right here. This is about clean wood scraps that could be reused. It's not about sawdust and dirt from the floor. And last but not least, get the dustpan and the broom back to their special spot. Shut off the dust collection system and consider yourself done. And now the unwrap. It's been 30 minutes. Check out the outside corners. They don't look like much right now. They look like fuzzy little weird blobby bits, but when I sand them down, they blend in nicely with the outside faces. And when you have sanded to your heart's content, find a nice spot on a bookshelf for the wall and put something special inside your tiny little frame. Congratulations. Bevel cuts, the miter saw. It's no joke. It's a lot of work to learn how to use, and laying down a good firm foundation is an excellent first step. I hope to see you back soon.